I want to be talking about a very nuanced topic today. And what I want to talk about has been gnawing at me like a cut or a burn at the roof of my mouth. And I've just been tonguing it for a few years because it's such a sensitive topic. And I know that it's a sensitive topic and it shouldn't be. We shouldn't be afraid to speak in opposition or speak our own opinions or thoughts or whatever it might be. And this is a topic that I don't hear talked a lot about in spiritual communities. I hear it talked a lot about in political communities, but not so much in spiritual communities. And so I want to preface that I'm going to be speaking as delicately and diplomatically as I can about this while remaining in what I believe to be a central truth. And I want to continue to preface that I understand this is a very nuanced topic and it has many layers. And, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. It is what it is. Enough with theatrics. Let me talk about it. And it's the trans agenda. And I want to be talking less about the agenda portion as I want to shed some light on things that I think could be helpful for having a depth of understanding. So first and foremost, we are in a very turbulent spiritual evolution. And a part of that spiritual evolution is understanding the two polarities, masculine and feminine, and that these are the two polarities that make up everything in the universe. And we can see this right down to an atom when we have the protons and neutrons, or the negative and positive charge, which would be positive masculine, negative feminine, and the electron, which is the child, so the man, the woman, the child. But in everything in life, there are these two energies that reside in everything. That includes people. These two energies exist in everybody. Some people, these energies are more prevalent, and some people they're not. For example, people with a male body, because that is a very real thing, a male body tend to lean more masculine energy, and people with a female body tend to lean more feminine energy. I think that we've conflated these ideas of understanding gender and energy and gender and sex in such a misconstrued way because we're evolving spiritually and because as a collective we've been so suppressed and repressed in a lot of ways. And because we are coming into this evolution and this revolution, I think that there's a lot of blurred cross lines in this process of better understanding ourselves as a human collective. We have to understand that we have been repressed as a species and as a people for a couple hundred years now, like 600, 700, 800 years, or well, actually 1,200 years. 1,200 years we have been suppressed. We have been lied to about our history, who we are, what we're capable of. And this is a part of the process of discovering that. And unfortunately, powers that be, elitist billionaire companies that rule the world are capitalizing on that natural evolution of discovery to try to continue to suppress us. And so now we're getting these really blurred lines. Now, it's my personal opinion. I can't cite it as truth as much as I would like to, but it is my personal opinion that the vast majority of people that are trans have suffered some type of deep trauma, whether that be a disconnect with their own internal feminine or masculine energy, some type of childhood sexual assault or early adulthood sexual assault. I would be willing to bet that social media has really influenced our developmental minds, especially in the younger generation. We've never had a time in history where we were so bombarded with information and technology, especially in our developmental stages. And then when you have a political train and a whole entire country pushing these things because it pushes a pharmaceutical agenda, because it keeps you dumbed down and controlled and fighting and separating, it's really easy to get lost in this natural reclamation process of understanding these internal polarities. So when I talk about masculine and feminine energy, what I'm talking about is these are very particular energies that reside within everybody. And again, depending if you're a male carrying body or female carrying body, you might have more or less than the opposite. And so masculine qualities tend to be intellect and courage and bravery and action and doing and logic and problem solving, where feminine tends to be expression and creativity and intuition and nurture and softness. And it's so funny because language has been so distorted for so long that even a lot of these words, I know that people aren't fully comprehending the truth of these words because the language has been manipulated so much. But I want to try to break this down in a simplistic way for everybody. And I want to explain something. And this is an exact example that's been coming through for me for like 3-4 years now. And it's that I see a lot of people on both political sides, because this tends to be more of a political issue than anything, which is just unfortunate. But I see a lot of people in the trans community, and I see a lot of people in the, I guess what you would call, I guess, the conservative community, really judge people based on clothing. And what I want to point out is that a part of feminine energy is creative self-expression. It's expression. Expression is feminine energy. Creativity is feminine energy. And when we look at fashion, that means it is a feminine thing. That means that if you're wearing a suit and tie, it's still feminine because it is you expressing yourself. It's you creatively dressing up your body. It doesn't matter if you wear a wife beater and jeans. It doesn't matter if you wear a blue t-shirt. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what you wear. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a dress. It doesn't matter if you're wearing pink. It is all an expression of feminine energy. Okay? So when we are trying to make these political stances and views of boys wear blue and girls wear pink, and I'm wearing a dress, but I'm still a man, or I'm a man because I'm wearing a suit, it's really reinforcing a lie, because the deeper truth is that creative expression, so dressing our bodies in a creative way with fashion, it does not matter what kind of fashion it is all feminine energy. So inherently wearing a certain style of clothing doesn't make you a boy or a girl. It doesn't make you a man or a woman. It is just a form of self-expression. And I think that this is a part of where the revolution is also gone sideways and haywire, is that I think originally people wanted to fight to separate that and to allow people just to wear what they want to wear and not be judged. And somehow we've conflated that with gender ideology. And it just doesn't make sense, because you can be a man and wear a dress, and that's completely fine. And you can be a masculine man and wear a dress. And again, I know language is so hard for people, because when I say a masculine man, I mean a man who carries the traits of being present, being a good leader, leading with logic and having logic and presence and grounding. These are all masculine qualities, and masculine qualities in a man. But you can have those same masculine qualities and be a woman. I'm a woman who is grounded and present and a leader. And so I tend to have more feminine qualities because I'm a feminine carrying body, and that's my path here. But I would never try to convince somebody that I'm a man. And it's not biologically possible for me to be a man. It's not biologically possible for a born man to give birth. It's not possible for a biological man to be a woman. And putting on an outfit doesn't change that. Even having these energies, even if you're a born man and you exhibit super feminine qualities like deep intuition and mystery and expression and creativity, nurture and softness and all of these other feminine qualities, it still doesn't make you a woman. It makes you a man with predominantly feminine energy qualities. But you can never change the fact that you are a man. You can cut off your genitalia and you will still be a man. And same goes for a woman. I want to give you guys another example. So a lot of people tend to say that building cars is a manly or masculine thing. And I actually want to break down how the process of building cars is actually both masculine and feminine. And I'm going to do the same thing with being a hairdresser because that's another stereotype. So when we are in the process of designing a car, we're thinking, oh man, I want it to look like this. I want the interior to look like that. I want the model to look like this. That's a feminine process. Again, when we're being creative, that is a feminine energy process. It's a feminine process. Now, the actual assembly of the vehicle is the masculine process because you're building, you're doing, right? And this is why a lot of men tend to be mechanics versus women, because most male-bodied individuals have predominantly masculine energy, and masculine energy loves to problem solve. It loves to build. It loves to do. It loves to work with its hands. And there's like a few things trying to come through there, so I'm just going to take a moment. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, and I trust that whatever was wanting to come through will come back. Don't want to lose my train of thought. So I'm just going to skip right to the hairdresser one. So hairdressing in itself is also a masculine and feminine thing, which is probably why it's dominated by both men and women alike. But the art of choosing the color, choosing the cut, visualizing exactly creatively how that's going to look is very feminine. The actual chopping of the hair is a masculine act. And then the designing and curling the hair after and styling it is, again, a feminine and masculine act, because the styling is the art, but the doing of the styling is masculine. Like, do you guys understand how intertwined masculine and feminine energy is inside of everything and inside of everyone, and that we are not separate from it, and that just because society has told us that boys wear a certain color, girls wear a certain color, and girls do certain things and boys do certain things, this doesn't mean you can change your gender. It means that we need to change how we teach people what is possible and what's not possible. I mean, really, you're allowed to do whatever you want. We live in a time where you can do whatever you want. But to be trying to convince yourself or younger people that you can change your gender, I mean, you can have these surgeries that present like you have, but you can't actually. And I know that there's, well, if I feel this way inside, okay, again, I really firmly believe the vast majority of people are heavily programmed because they were following ideologies when their brain was in a very programmable state called theta state at a young age. And then through repetition of consuming this as they continue to get older has solidified a certain ideology that is being pushed intentionally to make money off of you and to cause separation and divide. The second option, like I said, would be somebody who is heavily traumatized, somebody who was either molested as a child, which has severely separated themselves from themselves. I can speak as somebody who, I didn't grow up with the concepts and the ideas of trans, thankfully, because I probably would have fallen victim to that as a tomboy. My mother made me hate being a woman. And it took me till I was 29 years old to really love and appreciate being a woman. And if I would have been born at a different time, I probably would have ended up falling victim to this. So I'm not here to blame people. I'm here to actually be really compassionate and to show you a different perspective and a different point of view. And it's really hard to see this in the world right now because there's going to be, I mean, everybody's got their path. You know, everybody has come here to choose their pain, to make it their triumph story, to make it their teachable lesson, to learn and evolve from it. And I would say that there's no right and wrong in how you do that. But the fact that on a global scale, we are pushing these harmful agendas and ideologies because we haven't connected deeply enough with ourselves, because we're running programs unconsciously that have been given to us by people with a really evil agenda. And we've not taken the time to really go in and assess these things for ourselves and be connected to ourselves. I mean, the truth is this isn't just the trans community. 90% of our world's population is unconscious. They are unaware that they are running programs and beliefs that are to their detriment. The majority of people have never had a loving conversation with themselves. They've never connected to their bodies. We have severely dysregulated nervous systems. And not only is our food supply being poisoned, social media is poisoning us, and these vaccines that we've been getting since we've been infants are killing us. There are so many things in the world that are keeping us suppressed, unconscious, and unwilling, and keeping us putting one foot in front of the other, following what the new narrative is, the new trend is, and we're just running on autopilot. And I have deep compassion for that as somebody who used to be one of those people. But at some point, somebody has to start speaking up in a more, I was hoping that this was going to be compassionate and not too one-sided. It's like, I am so deeply understanding of why people follow these narratives. I'm so deeply understanding of why these things happen. And I'm so compassionate to it. But there has to be somebody out there with a different story and a different narrative, rooted a little bit more in truth. And life, yes, you have your truth, I have mine, but then there's also the capital T truth. There is the larger truth. There are three sides to a coin. I'm getting a little off track here. I think this is all just so prevalent because this is what I want to dedicate at least the next 10 years of my life to, is really teaching people how much these programs affect us, how much these childhood traumas that a lot of us carry. We come from very dysfunctional people. You guys, less than 200 years ago, it was normal to go to a family hanging or beheading as entertainment. Like, we as a people for a very long time have been really royally fucked up. And we carry that in our patterns. We carry that in our beliefs that have been passed down from generation to generation. And the only way that we can begin to unify as a people is when we start to get right with our hearts and our truth, and reconnect to our bodies and reconnect to a higher power, whatever that might be for you. And to really, truly learn to be tolerant of where people are at, loving and understanding and compassionate of where people are at. But really, it's about staying in your own lane and making change where you can in a way that is not intentionally harming people. My goal was not to come on here and harm anybody. It was merely just to share a very specific message that's been coming through me for 4 years that was just, again, gnawing at me this morning. And the reason I haven't spoke about it for a few years is because there was still a charge, there was still the deep bias, and I didn't want to come off as not understanding and not compassionate. But for whatever reason, it's been wanting to come out of me and through me, and I have to trust that. This is not something that I want to be speaking deeply about and regularly about. I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to anything. I'm just here to share this opinion that is coming through me that I really believe is rooted in a deeper truth. And so, yeah, before I get too wordy and keep going on, this is already a long video, I'm going to stop it right there and see what the fuck happens, because either nobody's going to watch this or it's going to blow up and there's going to be a lot of angry people. Either way, all publicity is good publicity. I'm not doing it for publicity. Truly, it's I'm kidding. Anyway, bye.